Colin from cryptocoingrowth. Today we have Galen from New Alchemy, and he's going to talk about his project. Go right ahead, Galen.
So I'm the Director of Market Research at New Alchemy, and it's my job to know everything that happens. Unfortunately, there's a lot that slips through our fingers, but we are trying to keep on top of everything in the crypto markets, from ICO issuance to activity on exchanges and social networks. So what do I see? What's out there? Well, surprisingly enough, Q1 was bigger in terms of ICO fundraisers than Q4 was. It's not what we expected, and certainly not what a lot of people expected, given the regulatory environment in the US and in other countries. What we've seen happening is that the ban on ICOs in China turns out to be kind of a de facto, not really a ban. Sort of a tacit permission for a lot of projects, but maybe not for some of the more unscrupulous operators in the Chinese market to go ahead and run ICOs. Certainly we've seen that at events in Hong Kong and other parts of Asia, where a promotion of ICOs in Chinese language and for the Chinese mainland is in full throttle. So what does that mean? I think what's happening is, as a lot of people are thinking about accessing the US market, as the US emerges as the most stringent regulator, they're thinking about how can they do a regulatory compliant ICO. That usually involves issuing a utility token as a security, basically like a utility token that, previously some people thought might not be regulated. Turns out probably is going to be regulated as a security in the US. That's okay, there are ways around that. We've established ways to get around that, introduce our portfolio firms to investors via BD license, that's broker-dealer license in the US, and move on from that security phase to a utility phase where the token can be more broadly used and traded. So there are paths to achieving what people want to achieve in this market. It's just not the kind of free-for-all fruit salad yard sale that we had in Q3 and Q4 of last year. So, in terms of regulatory good or bad, I feel it has put a little bit of a chill in the market. Things have slowed down a little, but as I mentioned, the market continues to grow, and so we're bullish on it and continue to
that guy.
And who's that guy? Continue to innovate.
There's always one, man.
Continue to innovate and support innovation, and see the promise of tokenized, blockchain-based networks, in any jurisdiction of the world.
So where do you see regulatory, enforcement in the future here? And do other countries really care what the United States is going to say?
So I think they do, and we've seen signals from other jurisdictions where they've said, well, we're basically going to follow what the U.S. is doing. Singapore has said that, right? The much vaunted sort of haven, and where certainly they're more friendly than the U.S. has so far shown itself to be. The real problem in the U.S. is that the regulator has not been as open in terms of engaging in any dialogue with investors or entrepreneurs in the market, at least not that we're aware of. There may be some people who get to talk to them, but a lot of projects don't. So you don't get the sense that there's a sort of an input and feedback process, but more of a, oh my God, this needs to be chilled out right now. Let's clamp down until we can get a handle on it.
Yeah,
seems to be the way they
jail.
Yeah, that's right. And to be fair, things did get a little bananas back there. So one way or another, I think regulators are finding ways to exert pressure and influence and try to shape this thing in the way it should be shaped. And certainly operators are trying to be responsible. But I think there are a couple things that get pretty interesting. I mean, one is if you're building a truly decentralized network, it's very difficult for a regulator to pin that down, right? Truly, most of the projects that are seeing letters, subpoenas from regulators, from the SEC, for example, truly most of them are centralized, profit-making businesses that are issuing a token. So they have an address, they have a bank account. There are all kinds of ways for a regulator to come in and shut them down. Now, it would be more difficult to shut down something like Ethereum, right? Which is, although it's a fairly centralized developer core, still is a decentralized network. As long as somebody in the world is running an Ethereum node, Ethereum still exists. Same thing with Bitcoin. So for anybody who's developing a truly decentralized project, the regulatory pressure is not as acute. And I think regulators are cognizant of that fact, right? There are honey badger ways around any sort of blocks and walls that might be put in place of what people want to do. I think it's just, the fact is most people are seeing this as an easier way to raise capital than venture capital. And honestly, if that's what you're doing, then you really are selling a security, right? So I don't know what anybody has to complain about, frankly.
So what's New Alchemy going to be doing here in the next year?
We're looking at a number of interesting things. I think cross-chain protocols are very interesting. We have a couple of projects underway. that are looking to sort of bridge the gap between different blockchains. Right now we're in a market where there are hundreds, maybe even thousands, right? There are thousands of tokens. We envision a world where there are maybe hundreds, maybe even thousands of different blockchains. When you think about, I think the potential for forks has only just begun, right? You saw a couple of really high-profile forks in 2017. I think we'll see more high-value, high-profile forks of projects that get running and then have some kind of split, or somebody wants to take it and do something different with it. That's going to be huge and important. And once that happens, cross-chain technology is really, once you have two different chains operating and you want to be able to interface between them, that cross-chain technology is very important. I think access to liquidity is a hugely important issue, and so decentralized exchanges, right? That's going to be a very important piece in the ecosystem as well.
Yeah.
For us also, security tokens are really interesting. So we've done a lot with utility tokens. We've helped build some really great dApps and some really great protocols. What we're looking to do next is start to look at maybe some ways that tokens can improve in efficiency over traditional security. We're talking with a number of projects who have that in mind, right? They really are just raising money for, say, a real estate project. We're trying to sell ownership of their company. So it's not necessarily a utility, a dApp, or a protocol. It's, it really is shares of a business or an asset.
So where can people find more about your company? And either do you guys have groups or updates like Discord, or you have like Twitter accounts?
We do, yeah. We're on Twitter at New Alchemy. Our website, newalchemy.io, you'll find information on the portfolio there, and some stuff about our team, what we do, what we're best at. I think one of the things that continues to be a nagging issue is security. And we've seen a number of hacks in the past year that exposed even high-profile and high-profile projects led by competent people and audited by competent auditors. We've still seen vulnerabilities exposed. So that's something we emphasize a great deal, is the security of our smart contracts. This company started as a smart contract security auditor, and we still do that business as well. I don't think that market has been solved. I think that we need more people doing that. We need better people doing it. We need more eyes on more projects if we're going to prevent another DAO hack or another parity wallet hack from sort of causing people to lose their money. Crypto has not evolved to the point where it's safe for everybody yet. We would very much like to see it get there.
Right. Well, thank you very much. And any final words?
I don't know. I think one of the most. We talked a little bit about security tokens, but honestly, one of the most exciting things about crypto is the possibility that it may remake the way we think about how companies and information and assets and resources are organized. So if the potential that is reflected in the price of crypto assets right now comes to fruition, we're going to see a very different paradigm for doing business, not only in one country but across the world, and that's a pretty exciting opportunity. It's great to be part of it.
All right, man. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah.